Yes, hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Knowledge Worth Sharing by Yuva. Today, we have with us Dr. Christal Asong who is the author of the book Five Steps to Discover Work You Are Meant to Do and Life Your Purpose Should I Quit. This book over here. So yeah, so okay, a little background story on how I met Christal. So we met Christal on one of the Genius meetups in KL, and she happened to be a Genius member as well. Am I right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Jay
Genius. Okay,
Shetty.
yes, correct. Genius is happened to be the J Shetty coaching group, which I'm quite active in, and we got to know today, and that's why I got to know that she has a very interesting backstory, and she has a interesting issue to be addressed. And yeah, so I think I don't want to talk further. So, Crystal, welcome to Knowledge Worth Sharing podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Yuva. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I've been following up on your work since the first time we met, I think last September last year. So yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. The honor is mine as well because that I mean I feel so touched when I hear your story because like how your travels, what you've gone through to reach to this stage.
Mm,
I mean, I'm honored to have you in this podcast. Thank you so much.
yeah,
So
thanks.
Crystal, can you please introduce yourself to the audience? Like, where are you from? How's your family background? How was growing up like to you? So can you please share a little of that to the audience?
Okay. So hi everyone. My name is Christal. I originally was born and raised in Sarawak, specifically in Bintulu and Miri. So it's a small oil and gas town in east of Malaysia. And ever since I was a kid, my entire childhood dream was to become a doctor. Because I come from a small ethnic group in Sarawak called the Kenyah and Kayan community. It's under the Orang Ulu tribe. So under the Orang Ulu tribe, there's Kenyah and also Kayan. Because the biggest ethnic in Sarawak is Iban and Dayo. So our ethnic is considered a minority. And in our community, there were very few doctors. And one of my childhood dream ever since I remember even at 7 years old, my dream occupation was to be a doctor. And if you look through my report card as a kid, the top three occupation will be a doctor, an engineer, or an architect, right? And then sometimes I'll add in stewardess, teacher, or chef. But it has always been to become a doctor. And yeah, and one of the reasons why is because wanted to make the community proud, wanted to help people as well. And then even all my other siblings, they work as this typical Asian careers as well. I'm a doctor, my other brothers are engineers and lawyers. And yeah, so growing up, it has always been about studying hard, working hard to achieve that goal. And yeah, so I don't know how far I should tell the story.
Okay, maybe you can tell I mean, how many siblings in your family? I mean, are you the eldest in the family? So yeah, a bit about that
Mm,
so that the audience can get more acquainted with you. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm the eldest among my siblings. So I have two younger brothers. Yeah, so the only girl. And I think ever since I was little, I already felt the pressure from my parents to perform. And especially as the eldest, right, I feel like there's a weight on my shoulder to and also responsibility to make my parents proud and to make them happy, and also make the community proud. So it was always about, even as a kid, it was a lot about competition. And I mean healthy competition, I guess, among our siblings. And yeah, so yeah, but we had a loving relationship as siblings and as a family.
I mean, that is so sweet to hear. I mean, like there's a three of you and you are closely knit together. I mean, you're growing up together and and you're loving to each other. I mean, they're so sweet and so nice to hear. And yeah, I mean, like for me, I only have two siblings. I'm the youngest of the two. I'm the
Oh.
anak bongsu lah, they call it in Malay lah, anak bongsu lah.
Mm-mm.
And I have elder brother, and he's also a doctor, but he's not
Oh.
but right now he's in Tasmania. He's working right there in Tasmania, Australia. So I mean I can relate that when you say that being the eldest, the family, that you have to perform and be the example to the other siblings. So I can truly see at my brother, because my brother from the very young age, he said doctor or nothing, because he is very determined. He wants to be a doctor, nothing else. No second
Mm.
option, third option. And yep, he worked hard for it and he achieved it. So yeah, I can truly relate to that. And also I can also relate to what you said earlier, that the Asian stereotype of ambition, like either doctor or engineer. Well, I'm Indian, Christal, I'm Indian, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you heard this from DCT as well, who's also Indian. So he said that in any Indian family, it's either doctor, engineer, or failure.
Ah, yeah, that one. The last part, the one, it cracks me up all the
Yeah.
time. But it's so true though, unfortunately.
Yeah, because like for me, like okay, just to share a little about myself, like, because yeah,
Yeah.
I know you're the interview about you, but I do want to share a bit of myself, because to
Yeah,
make it
sure.
more relevant. Well, as I say, I'm the youngest in the family, but well, I was on course to be a doctor as well, because I studied,
Mm.
SP, everything. I got good grades, but then what happened? I did not get the scholarship. I did not get the matriculation. I did not get anything. Um, so basically, like, and then the worst part, my parents also already invested a lot for my brother to do medicine. So when it comes to my turn, like, parents having a hard time to finance both of us to do same course. So I have to diverge and enter teaching, because teaching was that at that time was government sponsored, so it could release be more like a relief for my parents. So yeah,
I
so
see.
yeah, but so back then I was at, and Crystal, teaching was not my top three at all, was not even my top three choice
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
pursue.
Mm.
I was thinking maybe doctor, pharmacist, or maybe dentist, but definitely not teaching. Teaching was down the list, and see, now I'm a
Yeah.
teacher. But but you know what? After about 11 years down the service, I have no regrets. I love teaching. I mean, I love kids, I love children.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so
I
no regrets.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what made you wanted to become a doctor in the first place?
Okay. Well, that's the question I wanted to ask you, but you asked me first. You jumped the line.
Oh, okay.
Okay. For me, like, what triggered my interest to become a doctor? Because, like, I'm not sure, Crystal, like, if this is, you have heard the series called ER.
Yeah. The
ER.
American
So
series, yeah.
the characters like Doctor all these doctors are famous character there, and so when I see that, I feel there's a rush of blood within myself, like, like, okay, this is what I want to do. I like to hustle bustle, I like to save lives. I want to
Mm.
be in the hustle bustle thing. So that's what triggered my interest to become a doctor. But yep.
I see.
So
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities between us because uh, I experienced the same thing as well. I've always wanted to become a doctor because of the idea of helping people, you know, like I wanted to help people like cure their diseases and impacting their health, bringing them back to life. And also I think partly is because of the TV shows and the movies that I watch. Other than ER, I think there's like Grey's Anatomy, House, you know.
yes,
So
yes.
I'm not sure whether it's the glitz and glamour that is usually portrayed about doctors on all these, TV shows and platforms. And yeah, and also the career as a doctor, right? It comes with a lot of like positive connotations, like with prestige, it's a lucrative career, and it's highly respectable and highly regarded by a lot of people. And I think all of that combined is what led me to want to become a doctor. as a child.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because if you ask general people generally out there, if they ask you what do you work, doctor, wow, doctor. So
Yeah,
from the sound from the voice you can hear that they feel like wow proud and everything. But if I say my
yeah.
job is a teacher, oh cikgu. so,
So
so you can
it
see the
seems a bit
difference.
mellow, is it?
Mellow, very mellow, and the one is a very proud one, and one is a very mellow voice. So yeah, so
Yeah, it's
I
an
mean, these are all
unfortunate
stereotypes.
thing.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, unfortunate in our society, this kind of stereotypes. Yeah.
But little that do they know that without a teacher, there's no doctor. If
True.
there's yeah, because if there are no teachers around, there will be no doctors. There will be no prime ministers. I mean, there will be no anyone because teachers are the first person that children go to learn. That's where they learn ABC from. That's where they learn how to
Yeah.
write. That's where they learn to
Yeah.
read. So yeah, but
Yeah, I
you know
agree.
we can never change people's minds. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you answered the second question. What sparked your interest in our doctor? That's good. So my next question for you, Crystal, is why becoming a doctor back then was important to you?
Again, as I mentioned, it's the idea of being able to help people. And like you said, right, when you see someone who is a doctor, and then we have this high expectations for them. We admire them, we admire doctors a lot. And I think even as doctors, they like that feeling of admiration and feeling like they inspire people with the work that they do. Yeah. So being able to help people, creating an impact in their lives, just being of service and wanting to leave the world um, a better place, that was my whole reason why. And I think the second part of it, that I only realized as I grew up, is also the need to feel validated and loved and seen by my parents. Yeah, so this is like a deeper conversation. Yeah, but as a kid, I think a lot of my self-esteem and self-worth stem um from my achievements, you know, getting all A's or doing well in my exams, and then uh rank top in class. So those are ways that I see as ways to get validation from my parents, because every time when they see that, they become proud of me. So I think as a kid, I just wanted that, that pride, and also feel loved by my parents. Yeah, but I only realized that as I grew up. But other than that, yeah, those are the two big reasons, I guess.
Well, I can see the first one is a truly a noble thing. You know, like to the the purpose to help others. Like that's a very noble cause you got, Crystal. Like
Yeah.
I mean in my language, Tamil, there's a thing called seva. Seva means service. So service
Mm,
is the highest thing that one can do to others. That's what I mean, and that's the one of the most noblest thing one can do. And yeah, I have
mm.
to applaud you for that. But if you don't mind, Crystal, can I ask you about the second one, because you said that uh, if I okay, just correct me if I'm mistaken. It's like, you mentioned that you want to feel validated, you want to feel like appreciated, like so I don't want to ask. Let's say if you did not become a doctor, what would happen then? I mean, what if?
You mean as a kid?
Yeah.
Um, what will happen then? I I think back then, a lot of my self-esteem, self-confidence comes from, as I mentioned, my external achievements. And one of the way for me to get a validation back then was, to achieve, to succeed according to society's standards. So if I don't become a doctor, because for back then for me being a doctor is like the top, right, the top tier what success means. That was what I thought in my child's brain. And if I don't get it, I think as a child, I would not get that validation or sense of self-worth. And I think it would have affected my self-esteem. And I think I would have carried that even as I grew older. And I mean, it's not a good or a bad thing, but that drive to achieve and succeed has helped me a lot in terms of my growth and where I am today. Because I think without that self-esteem that I have already cultivated at such a young age, I don't think I would be where I am today, because it takes a lot of esteem and self-worth, self-validation to put myself out there, especially after I quit medicine.
Well, Christal, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, before you go to the next question, I just want to share one more thing. Like, since you mentioned that you are from Bintulu, Sarawak, well, I have been, my first posting was in Sarawak. Yeah, my first posting was in Sarawak, is in Lubuk Antu, Sarawak.
Oh, wow. This is like in the rural parts of Kuching,
rural
right?
area. Yes, rural area is about like 4 hours drive from Kuching.
Oh, wow. When did you work there?
2012 to 2015.
I see.
So I
Wow,
spent 3 years there, and the place where I work is about 1 hour, one and a half hour drive from the Kalimantan border. So you can imagine it's pretty interior.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
That
So
is
when you
interesting.
mentioned about being from Sarawak, I can imagine how is it like that, because like being there, like, well, I don't want to say too, I don't want to say macam too much, but then like I can say lah, Sarawakian people are friendly, friendly, they're open, receiving people from other cultures. Because honestly, my first fear when I went there is like, I'm an Indian, I'm an outsider, so I was afraid how they going to treat me and stuff. But when I go there, I feel so warm, I feel so friendly, and they accept me. They accepted me there. They treat me they treat me well there. So I feel grateful for throughout my 3 years there. I've been treated well, and like when they say cikgu, so they treated me with respect. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard that a lot. Also, people like to compliment about Sabahans and Sarawakians. Like they say, we're friendly and very open, which is true. And I don't know, I think it's just the culture, like we're very open, and because we are such a multiracial state, it just helps to be accepting for one another despite our differences.
Okay, so let's go back to the interview. So question 4. So next question. Actually, I've touched on the question a bit just now, but I do not ask. Let's see if I mean, apart from being a doctor, do you have any other aspirations to be when you grow up? Apart from doctor, do you have any other like interest or like a little idea what you want to become? If let's say, okay, if I do become a doctor, I'll be this.
Yeah, I think ever since I was a kid, I have been trained in the science and math stream, so I've always thought that the only way to succeed in life is to join the typical STEM occupation, right? Doctor, engineer, accountant. And I think for many years that was all I focused on science subjects, like physics, chemistry, biology, maths. But I think I was also actually a very creative and artistic person. And I always had dreams about, I've always loved music and performing, singing, playing musical instruments like the guitar, piano. I always dream about going to drama class and acting. But I think but I think it wasn't really encouraged. I mean, yeah, my family, they let me and my siblings, color, draw, and sing and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't really encouraged in terms of making it as a career. Yeah, so I think if I didn't become a doctor, I think I would have delved into like the creative or art stream. I don't know, probably into arts, drama, those kind of
Hmm.
stuff.
Interesting.
And explore more of my artistic uh endeavors,
Okay, Christal. So since you mentioned about music, I don't want to ask what's your favorite music genre or favorite music band or
Yeah.
maybe a particular decade of music that you like, 70s, 80s, 90s. So what's your favorite kind of taste of music?
Wow, this is actually a very tough question. Um,
Oops, sorry.
but the thing is, my music taste it changes, as I grow. When I was younger, the trend was boy bands, right? So that was
Yes.
all I listened to, like Westlife, Backstreet Boys, and
Mm,
Singer. Those were
okay.
my jam. Yeah, and then
Uh,
into teenagehood, I would listen to like more of pop songs.
pop
One
songs.
Direction, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, all that kind of stuff. But I think as I
Ah.
get older right now, I'm more into, like more calm, mellow kind of songs, like
Mm-hmm,
R&B, John Mayer-ish kind of
mm-hmm,
genre.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's no specific genre. It
Hmm.
just changes depending on my mood.
Depending on your mood. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Oh,
But
how about
it's
you?
well for me being an Indian, the top of my list is definitely from A.R. Rahman. Any music from A.R. Rahman,
Oh,
especially from the 90s because it defines my childhood. So it's kind of my jam growing up while I'm listening while I'm growing up. This is what I listen to the song from the 90s. It's kind of like nostalgic and bring back all the wonderful childhood memories.
oh
If you
wow.
say yeah, if you say non-Indian music, I'll say maybe R&B,
Yeah.
jazz, blues. So I like Frank Sinatra. Yeah,
Yeah,
so those kind of music. Nat King Cole. Um, yeah, so those kind of music I kind of like.
I see.
Jazzy
AR
blues.
AR
Yep.
Rahman did a concert here, right?
Yes, I went for the concert January.
Oh, January this year.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it was a really nice experience, being in the national stadium, crowded stadium. So it's quite nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Quite
Are
nice.
you go are you going to the Coldplay concert? I don't know. It's all the hype
uh,
right now around
oh,
social
you're going
media. I
to
was
make me
like,
cry.
okay.
You're gonna make me cry because
Oh
I'm a
no.
I'm a avid Coldplay fan. I've been
Oh,
listening
you
from the
are? Okay, I didn't
I'm
know
the
that.
I've been following from the very first album. Like I have the CDs of Coldplay. So when the news came around that they're coming to Malaysia, I wanted to buy a ticket. I waited in the queue for 4 hours. In the end, I didn't get ticket. No, so I didn't. So I'm
For
not going for the
real?
concert. Yeah.
I thought the ticket just opened yesterday.
Yep. It it got sold out within 1 hour
Oh my God. You mean online?
online.
Okay. Oh
Okay.
boy. Oh well. Okay.
Okay. So that's about music. Very interesting that we have a little in common. R&B. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about this very nice covered book here, orange color book called "Should I Quit?" Okay. So I just want to pick a, a chapter from the book. I think it's the introduction. You mentioned about the
Mm.
incident at the hospital. It was your turning point, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Now this question may be a bit sensitive, so you can choose not to answer if you're not comfortable with. So, in that incident, which affected you the most? Is it the shock, the feeling of shame, the guilt, or feeling like failure? Which one of these four affected you the most when that happened?
I thought about this question earlier, and I think it's a mixture of everything, you know. There's not one particular like emotion. Like when it happened, everything just emerged. The feeling of shame, shock, and then guilt for the patients. And but then again, it was a turning point because during that incident, it was already my 7th month into housemanship. And even way before that, I have been contemplating for so many months about whether I should resign or not. And actually, I even prayed to the universe to, to give me a sign and let me know if I should quit or not. And apparently that night when that incident happened, I just felt this pull from the universe telling me like, this is it, like this is the sign that you were looking for. And that gave me the courage to finally hand in my resignation letter and resign a month later.
I mean, Christal, like, I mean, I can only imagine that must be rough on you, but at the same time, I have to applaud you for being brave enough to take the leap of faith, because like I know, like like it's extremely difficult to come out, of the career that you wanted to do so badly from you were young. You grow up with the ambition to become a doctor, and then you finally made it. You finally the housemanship, and then this happens. So like
Yeah.
yeah, like I can only empathize with you, and I can only imagine how rough, how difficult must it be for you during that time. So
Yeah, very
yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
Because it was everything I've ever dreamed of, right? To become a doctor. And then once I enter my medical career, enter housemanship, and then I realized like, oh, apparently reality is not what I expected it to be. And the fear that I've made the wrong decision after so many years of hard work towards this one moment is just terrifying.
Well, Crystal, thank you so much for that sharing. Okay, so have you heard about a famous monk from called Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk?
Yeah, the Vietnamese monk, right?
Vietnamese monk. Well, he recently
Mm,
passed away, so may his soul rest
mm,
in peace. But he mentioned a very interesting thing about fear. He mentioned that there are two types of fear a human being may encounter: the known fear and unknown fear. Now, just to give a little context, known fear is something that one you have gone through, and it caused like a trauma, and from there it induces fear in you. While unknown fear is like something which is yet to happen, but you heard it, maybe you heard it from someone, or you heard the news. You can say it's a bit like a little paranoia. So it's something which is yet to happen, but the overthinking within you causes fear within you. So there's unknown fear. Okay. So based on that, I want to ask you: do you have experience both kind of fears, either one or both kind of fears in the days leading up to you punching out from housemanship, leaving housemanship in the final days of your final days of you being a doctor?
yeah. Yeah, I had a mixture of both fears, known and unknown fears. I think for me, the known fear that I have was the repercussions of quitting housemanship. Like I already know it's just bound to happen, after I quit my medical career, I will experience the backlash, the judgment, criticism from people, from my peers, from society, or even from my own family members. It's just bound to happen, right? Like you cannot please everyone. And the unknown fear that I had was more of my future, because when I leave my medical career to step into what I see as my next chapter, right, in my life, it is full of uncertainties. Because being a doctor, your whole life has been planned out for you, basically. It's a very predictable trajectory from the moment you become a medical student, and then housemanship, medical officer, specialist, consultant, professor. So everything is already laid out for you, so you don't have to worry. But I know that after I quit, where would I end up? How am I going to support myself? And what am I going to do with my life? Right. So that was the unknown fear. It was that uncertainty of stepping into the unknown, the unfamiliar, the unpredictable. Yeah.
Yeah, uncertainty. Yeah, I mean that's the very strong word in uncertainty, because that, yeah, when you quit something which is like considered secure, that the thing that you wanted to do badly, and suddenly you are out of it. So you're thinking what will happen next. So that's always a big question mark. But you know what, Crystal, I don't tell that, there are only two things certain in life: the day
Mm.
you're born, the day you pass away from the world. Everything in between, everything else, everything in between, all uncertain. You'll never know. We'll never know what gonna
Yeah,
happen tomorrow. We never know what's gonna happen next month. We'll never know. We'll never know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a quote, right? That the only constant thing in life is change.
Yes, correct.
Like things will always change no matter how much we obsess about planning our life, planning our goals. But I mean, plans can change and people can change and we can change. So I've learned that it's not about being so attached to the outcome or being so attached to our plan. So it's more of just letting the universe unfold things for us at divine timing.
Yeah,
It's something that I learn, as I grow older.
yeah. I mean, change is also the very sign that you are alive. Because only people who are alive changes. Uh, or the only group of people, only people that does not change, they go 6 feet under. Only dead people do not change.
Mm.
But if you're
Mm.
alive, yeah, if you're alive and kicking, you will experience change. It's something which is undeniable and you cannot avoid it.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
change is scary, and that is what's holding a lot of people back, even though they know it's something that is right for them, right?
yeah. And but
Yeah,
then it can also be exciting.
yeah. Or you can
Mm.
reframe it that way. You can say
Yeah,
that's exciting as well.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Crystal, when you make the bold decision, how did others react? I mean, the others, what I mean others is like your close family, your closest relatives, your friends, anyone who knows you. How do they react when they hear, okay, Crystal is leaving the medical field for good?
Yeah. The first person that I talked to this about was actually my parents. So I work here in Hospital Serdang, and my parents are back in Sarawak. So that one time when I was contemplating whether I should resign or not, I decided to give them a call and discuss about about the idea. And then when I told them that, I told them I'm not happy in my job, and I'm thinking about quitting. I remember the disappointment in their voice, and they were very shocked. They were saying like, "Oh, you want to quit, but you've worked so hard for this already. Like, are you gonna just waste it all away like that?" And housemanship is only 2 years, and you might as well just hang in there and complete the 2 years, and then you're free to do whatever you want. That was the idea. And when I resigned, they were not happy at all. I even I didn't even tell them, that day when I handed in the resignation letter. It was only after I handed it in that I called them up, and then I told them that I've already done it. I've already handed in the resignation letter. And I remember just cricket silence. They they were just speechless. They don't know how to respond. And then, but I'm very, very grateful for them. They've done so much for me and my brothers. And even though at first they didn't really understand my decision and why I did what I did, now they are my biggest supporters and my number one allies. And I always know whatever I'm going through, they will always have my back. So yeah, and what I've learned from that, and I feel like after resigning, it has helped me connect to my parents better at a more deeper level. Yeah. And I think so I see it as a blessing in disguise, because the people you love, they just want the best for you based on their understanding of reality, and it's all out of good, pure intention. So when we are able to communicate, our deepest dreams and desires, I think that's that's where the magic happens, right? That's when we can find the middle ground and move forward from there.
Yeah, very true. I mean, like, um, our parents is always our best friends, our BFF, so to speak. We,
Yeah,
yeah, like our parents is our confidant in our roughest period. That's the one. That's the one group of people that we turn to as our guides, as our solace, as our guide, as our the place for us to to cry on, to shoulder the cry
yeah,
on. So
yeah,
yeah. For me personally, I'll say my parents as well. I can say the same thing, especially my mom, because my mom constantly told me, it's like, Yuva, I am your number one fan. Whatever you do, I'll be your number one supporter. I'll be the first there to support whatever you do. Now, I may not understand what you do or what you're going to do, but I'm your number one fan. So when I heard that, I feel so touched. I almost want to cry because like so touching, when you hear your mom says that. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite
that's
nice
very
to you.
sweet of her. Yeah. I also realized that sometimes you don't need a lot of people to support you in your endeavors. I think what we all need is just that one or two person, to really believe in you. And when you find those kinds of people, even though if it's just one or two people, like you can move mountains. Like the world is your oyster. Because I really believe that as human beings we cannot do things alone. But when you can have one or two very loyal supporters with you, you're unstoppable.
Yes, very true, very true. I mean, like it's not about quantity, it's about quality, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, Crystal, so now let's go to your book again. So I do want to ask, what was your inspiration behind to read this book? What was your inspiration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during housemanship, um, I spent many months contemplating about resigning. And
Mhm.
then after that incident that happened, which I talked about in the introduction, so if you're interested to know, you can read the book. So after that incident, it finally gave me the confidence, to pull the trigger and hand in my resignation letter and then resign a month later. And after I resigned, I just had this natural pull to share my story. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it came about, but I think I call it instinct. You know, I just had this instinct that I wanted to share my message to the world because I don't want to be just another number in the statistics of one of the housemen who quit housemanship. I don't want to let my effort of quitting housemanship go in vain. And I want to make something out of it. I want to make use of it, right? And what better way than to help others who are also going through the same thing? Because I knew even back then that I was not the only one going through, the dread of housemanship. There were a lot of people going through the same struggles. Maybe they don't admit it. So I wanted to be able to share my message. Because also one thing I realized is that so before it, so I decided to share it on my YouTube channel. Yeah, because I have this YouTube channel, and before this, I used to post random videos, just random videos of me singing, traveling, on all this kind of stuff. But after resigning, I decided to record a video of me sharing about my whole journey going through housemanship, how I resigned, what I felt after that, and then what are my next plans for my future. And then I uploaded it on my YouTube channel, and then I just didn't really expect much from it after that. But I was surprised when I got a lot of engagement from the video. A lot of people resonated with it, and then they reached out to me personally through my social media, asking me about asking me for advice about what to do. They share with me about their own struggles going to housemanship. They don't enjoy the job. They want to quit, but they don't know where to go or what to do, right? And I think one of the reasons why is because when you're in a medical field, that's all you know, right? You're being surrounded by just this one medical bubble. And when you quit, you don't know what's left out there. And there's not a lot of information online about alternative careers, especially for doctors. And another reason why I wanted to share the video was because I realized that there were a lot of videos on YouTube about what to do as a doctor, but there were no videos at all back then about what to do after you quit from being a doctor. And I think one of the reasons why is because quitting medicine is seen as a taboo, especially in
Yeah.
our Asian society, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's something to be ashamed of, something to be embarrassed. You're seen as a
Yeah.
failure, as someone weak. And I've even been called all those names, right?
Wow.
Yeah, people call me weak, snowflake, strawberry generation, you know, all those names. So I wanted to break that stereotype, that limiting belief, because I truly, truly believe that we are so much more than our careers. We are so much more than what we do for a living or how we make money. If only we know the power that we have within, right?
Yeah.
And it's just such unfortunate, you know, the way that we live and how society has ingrained this kind of mentality in us.
Yeah. And then even Crystal, I mean, I mean the idea, I mean, in general, the idea of quitting itself is considered taboo, let alone quitting a medical field. Because like quit, the idea of quit, they say, oh, quitters means you're weak,
Yes,
you're as
quitters are
the
losers.
quitters are losers, all these things. So yeah, so I mean, these are all toxic. This kind of toxic mentality should be we should delete this toxic mentality. Because
Yeah,
like like quitting doesn't means like quitting is not the end of the world. It's just a redirection. For example,
yeah,
if you want to drive from KL to Johor Bahru, okay, okay, let's say on your okay, your bad luck, the highway got jammed, so you can still reach Johor Bahru through the trunk roads, but it may
yeah,
take longer, but it has a better scenery. So yeah, it still is there. So quitting is not the final decision. It's just a redirection. It's just a little
yeah,
detour. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's good if everyone can see it that way, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people say, you know, if you're quit, then you're weak. But I realized that after resigning from housemanship, quitting doesn't mean that you're weak. I think it takes a stronger person to know when to quit, you know?
very true. Yes, very true. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I mean like, um, I mean, no, I mean, quitting from a medical field, I mean, is considered a very brave thing to do. Because, like, I think those who call you snowflake and this, they do not really appreciate. They don't really know how difficult it is. They just say, okay, doctor is ready for five years, and they become a doctor, you get good pay. They only see the beauty part, the beautiful part, the glossy part of being a doctor. They do not know the hardship. How much cramming you have to do, how much cramming you have, how many reading you have to do, how many like how many time you have to like memorize the books and books of medical things. So medical
yeah,
terms have to memorize. So it's no joke. It's no joke. So I mean, when people call you that, I feel it's just really truly inappropriate. It's just wrong. Just wrong.
yeah. But I mean, all careers are difficult in their own ways, right? And not just doctors. I'm sure, like, even being a teacher, you experience your own hardships as well. But I mean, my point is in all of my videos, or my message is always about finding what is right for you. And if you're a doctor, or even if you're a teacher, but you don't enjoy the job and you realize that this is not for you, then probably the best way is to find something else that is more in line with who you are, right? So being a doctor is not good or bad. It's just it's just about finding what aligns with your highest true self.
That's a very powerful thing. Say, find something which aligns to you. Because like in because for ours because in we do have a scripture called the Bhagavad Gita. I'm not sure whether you have heard that, the Bhagavad Gita. It's a
Yeah,
scripture about finding your own purpose and realizing a purpose, and also like, and then when the um crucial and at the crucial time, you have to fulfill your righteousness. It's about duty and uh 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 righteousness. So there
yeah,
they mentioned about the thing called swadharma and paradharma. So swa in Sanskrit means own, true nature. Dharma means nature, or you can say purpose. Paradharma means alien nature. So the purpose of life is you have to find your own true nature, your true purpose, which is your
mm,
swadharma. Now, if you okay, for example, let's say someone's swadharma is supposed to become a doctor, but in the end, he choose something which is different, which is like become a teacher or something else. So he can that the person can still do a job, but it's not to his to the person's full potential.
Yes.
It's not 100% because why he's doing something which is not aligned to his true self, to the person's true
Yeah.
self. So yeah,
Yeah. I like
that's
how you
different.
mentioned about highest potential, because that's the key, right? You can do, you can work in any kind of career, do any kind of job, but if it doesn't help you achieve your highest potential, then it's just you're missing out on a lot. It's wasted potential. Yeah.
Wasted potential. Very true. Very true. So, Crystal, I want to ask, how is this book, your the book of yours, differ from any from other self-help books? How is it different?
Yeah. Um, when I was, this book is, I considered it as a self-help book, but uh, I think what differs it is, I feel like um, this book, my book at its core, is about a journey towards wholeness. It's about journey towards finding your authentic self, your authentic voice, your most authentic expression. And and that takes a lot of intuition. It's like you have to connect a lot with your heart, with your gut instinct. And I think that is where uh, and that is how, and that is how I think my book is different, because I realize that a lot of self-help books, it's they are beneficial in their own right, but I think sometimes it can also be very technical. They have a lot of terms and framework, yeah, different kinds of models or principles that they use. But I mean, at its core, if it's not something that is aligned, or not something, as you say, that is aligned with your dharma, then no matter how many technique or framework that you use, it's not going to work. So at its core, this book is about connecting to your wholeness. And how do you connect with your wholeness? Is you need to connect to your heart, to your gut instinct. And I think connecting to our heart is a lost art, because I think a lot of us, we emphasize so much on our intellect, right? And a lot of self-help book is about that. It's about how do you intellectualize things, or how do you rationalize your current situation. It's all about the intellect, but we forget the other kinds of intelligence, which is your heart. Because your heart, our heart, it holds a lot of wisdom that we have forgotten. And if we can tap into that, then it's easier to find something that is connected, that is aligned with who we are. So yeah, so that's the difference.
Hmm. Well, Crystal, I really like how you differ between knowledge and intellect, because from what I know, because I studied Vedanta, so they define knowledge and wisdom differently. So okay,
Mm,
even in the English dictionary, there's no any particular meaning of knowledge and wisdom. They say okay, this is knowledge, this is wisdom. This kind of like they interchangeably use these two words, but actually these two words are different. Now, knowledge means something which is being taught to you. Someone teach you that. But wisdom is after you learn something, you do reflection. You put your own thinking, you put your idea into it, and then from there you come to your own understanding. That is wisdom. That is wisdom.
yeah,
So,
very true.
and then also when you mention intellect for us, like intellect, when I understand what I say by intellect, like intellect is like our own internal intelligence. Like for example, like um like even in the Gita as well, they mentioned about the mind and the intellect. So the mind is like a child, and the intellect is an adult. I think even Jay Shetty mentioned this. So
Yeah.
constantly within a human being is a constant struggle between the mind and intellect, which is the adult and the child. So like imagine if you leave a child without surveillance, they just go wild. They just go wild. They just throw tantrums. So that's why you need an adult to monitor the kid. Similarly, in within ourselves, we need, because our mind is purely emotional, based on emotional, based on feelings. But what controls that is your intellect. Is your intellect. So it is the adult in you. So, but the problem is, if the intellect becomes weak, the mind becomes stronger, and that's where you can see the trouble. People becoming emotional. They tend to throw tantrums, and the all this mental health problem because their intellect, their self intelligence is not strong enough to control their own mind. Or if I can say in a simpler word, their mind become their own enemy.
Mm.
That's the thing. So that's how I understand. But yeah, I can see connection between your points as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that, Crystal. So okay, how would you like your readers to reap the maximum benefit by reading this book?
How do they read? What do you mean
No,
by that?
I mean, how can they get the maximum benefit from reading a book? In your opinion?
Hmm. I mean, it's just like how you read any book, right? It's one thing to read a book, but it's another thing to read it and then apply it. Yeah. So this book is it's a mixture of a lot of things actually, and it's done that way on purpose. So it's a mixture of my own personal experience, stories, but it's also a workbook, where the readers can do a lot of reflection, a lot of questions, a lot of prompts that
Yeah,
I laid out in the book so that they can think about it and then answer it for themselves. Uh, a few steps or guidelines they can follow through so that they can apply in their daily life and then come back and reassess it. So how readers can get the most benefit is application.
application. Very
Yeah,
true.
application and
Yeah,
reflection. This book
yeah,
is meant to be an active process, and if you want to get the full benefit, it has to be done actively, not
yeah.
passively.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that, Crystal, I remember a very funny quote from Jim Quick. You know Jim Quick,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the brain
the
thing.
brain.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So he mentioned that a self help book is a self help when you actually do the work. Otherwise,
Mm.
self-help book become a self-help, self-help,
Mm.
SHELF, which means that the self-help book will end up in the shelf. Like you,
Yes.
for example, I can buy this book. I heard this book. So, oh, this book is awesome. You should buy this book. But if I don't read the book will end up in the shelf and just gathering dust. So
Yes. True. That's nice though. Yeah. Self-help.
self-help. Very witty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just now you mentioned about intuition, Crystal. So I do have a question, and this question I do ask this question to Jay directly in one of the Genius Live, but unfortunately he hadn't answered yet. So maybe you can help me answer the question. It has been in my mind for quite some time. So when you mention about intuition, how do you know that your intuition comes from yourself, or is it an echo from other voices?
Yeah. It's a bit tricky, uh, especially because we live in a society with specific cultural values and beliefs. Ever since we were kids, we've been ingrained with certain types of beliefs, and then as we grow older, we think those are our beliefs, right? Even though those are beliefs that has been ingrained to us since childhood. So when we finally decide to tap into our intuition or step outside of the norm, it can be a bit difficult to decipher whether it actually our intuition or whether is it someone else's idea. So what I can say based on my own experience is that at first it is going to be a bit tough. It is going to be a bit tough to know the difference. But for me, what I did was not to be too hard on myself, not to be too judgmental, and being too um, being too concerned about whether it is right or wrong. And and also to fully tap into my own inner wisdom that I already have. You know, when I was working as a houseman, you know, in the hospital, intellectually, I know that it is a good career because, you know, I can help people, I can support myself financially, but internally, instinctively, something was a bit off. What is that? What is that thing? I didn't really understand back then, you know. There was something off balance, you know. But I don't really, I had no clue what that feeling was. But it was there. You know, it was just that small nagging feeling telling me that, you know, something's not right, that I need to do something. Yeah. And once I slowly start to tap into that inner wisdom that I have, you know, the intuition, it just naturally going to become stronger. It's like practice, right? It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you lift some weights, you gain muscle. I think it's the same thing with intuition as well. The more you practice tapping into your heart, into your internal wisdom, your intuition, it is going to be stronger, and you're going to be able to hear, you know, the messages or the signals that the universe wants you to know.
I I like it, Christal, when you mentioned that you have to constantly hone your intuition, like going to the gym, like you work your muscle, and then similarly you have to work your intuition muscle. So it takes practice. So
Yeah.
I I kind of like that. I kind of like the way you explained it. It's quite interesting, you know, quite interesting. And
Yeah.
and then when you mentioned that, so I remember a quote from in a very old quote from the Cherokee. It's one of the Indian tribe in US. So he mentioned that he mentioned about the two wolves. So every within us there are two wolves. One's the good wolf, one's the bad wolf. So the good wolf, you know, the positive, the positive minded, you know, enthusiastic, interested, you know, hardworking, um, and the never give up attitude, always see the brighter side of life. That's the good wolf. The bad wolf, you know, pessimistic, narcissistic, you name it, all the negative things is on the bad wolf. So
Mm.
what the quote says that which wolf becomes stronger is what you feed, which wolf that you feed more. If you feed the good wolf more, you become a good person. You will incorporate all these good positive values in you. But if you feed the bad wolf more, you will become a bad person. You become this pessimistic, narcissistic. You see the world as a very, you see the world in a bad light. So yeah, that's the quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, I mean, other than like for our physical body, we have to go to the gym to exercise our muscles, right? To strengthen our muscles. Intuition is also the same thing. We always have to tap into our heart, our intuition, so that it can be stronger. The same goes to our mind as well. We always have to enrich our mind with the right knowledge, the right social circle, so that we can have better minds and better way of thinking, right? And if we feed our mind with unhealthy things, like crappy things, whether through social media or what uh, people say, you know, that is not good for us, then that's the bad wolf, and it's going to be stronger, and vice versa as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and since you mentioned intuition, I remember a song titled Intuition by a singer called Jewel. I'm not sure whether you heard the song or not.
Oh no,
Okay,
never.
you
Okay,
can
I will check it out
YouTube,
after.
you can YouTube, Spotify is a singer called Jewel called Intuition. So yeah, you can find it then.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So in your book, you mentioned, okay, in the very title it said you mentioned 5 steps. Okay, which is self-awareness, self-knowledge, envisioning, resilience, and commitment. Now, I just want to ask, why do you put this 5 step in this particular order? Is there any particular reason for that?
Yeah. So I put it in this order because that is how it's meant to be followed. So it starts with self-awareness first. And self-awareness is the foundation. Because if people don't change if they are not self-aware of their current situation. You know, if I wasn't self-aware that I was in the wrong career, I probably won't even resign in the first place. And it takes a lot of self-awareness to know that I'm in the wrong career, or I'm in the wrong relationship, or I have an unhealthy body, and that's why I need to make some changes, right? Because I think a lot of people, they go through life mostly on autopilot, and they respond to things out of habit. So they grow up thinking that, okay, these are certain ways that we should live, right? We are born, we go to school, we get married, we work, we retire, we die. That's it. That's how life is supposed to be, because everyone else is doing that. So might as well just follow the crowd. But it takes a lot of self-awareness to realize that there is so much more out there. There's other ways to live life. And that's where self-awareness comes in, to know that you need to make some changes in your current situation. Yeah. And then after that, it's followed by self-knowledge. So self-knowledge is having knowledge about who you are, because I think, again, it stems to self-awareness, right? Both of them go hand in hand, self-awareness and self-knowledge. When you know who you are, what your strengths are, weaknesses, what your talents, passion, your purpose are, then it's easier to discover what you're meant to do, to find something that is aligned with who you are, self-knowledge, and then followed by envisioning, and then resilience, commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Christal. Because like when you mentioned all that, I remember that. Okay, I'm not sure whether are you a movie buff? Do you like watching movies or what? But have you saw the movie? Have you heard a movie called the Truman Show by Jim Carrey?
I heard about it, but I've
Yeah.
never watched it before. It's a classic.
Yeah, because like actually I watched the movie a few times, but after I studied Vedanta and I with the Vedanta island with the Vedanta lens, I watched the movie again. I started to understand the movie different. I was thinking like, my God, this director have thought it through. Like he have is such a deep message behind the movie, but they're expressing in the form of comedy. So okay, I don't want to give some spoilers, but just to give a little summary about the movie. Jim Carrey, who plays Truman in the movie, basically he was born into a massive set. That means everything he met, the friends he met, the work that he do, the how is it, everything's a set. So it was one fine moment that he realized that everything that he lived was a lie, because his father came out from outside the set and entered into the set. So imagine this, Crystal, like what you're living now is like it's like a film, massive film set, and you don't know it. That was Truman thought. And until he met his father, a few concepts meeting his father, and then suddenly he realized that, okay, what I'm living is not true. So eventually he walked out of set and entered into the real world. So so I think
Oh,
I can't say a story more because I don't want to be a spoiler, but there's a very powerful message in the from movies that you see, because when you mentioned about autopilot, all this thing. So sometimes you thought like, okay, is this my life, just like this, the autopilot, do what others do. Like I need to have my own identity. I need to have my own stronghold in my life. They must be some uniqueness. For example, like for you, Crystal, they have to be a crystal. I mean, a uniqueness of Crystal in your life. And for me, Yuva, there has to be a unique Yuva in my own life. Otherwise, I'll be no different from any other people. We'll be just yogurt, like homogeneous.
yeah.
Right? So yeah, I think if you have the time and also audience, please do watch the Truman Show. It's a true classic, and it's I think you will get some valuable message from the movie. It's a very powerful movie. It's yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love that. Life is a stage, right? So you can
life
either
is
choose, do you want to be a star on your own stage, or do you want to be the co-star,
right. Wow,
right? So like we get to
true,
choose that.
very
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and then also you mentioned about the hero's journey in your book.
Yes.
It's a very powerful thing. I think if you want to know about all that, audience, please get a copy of the book. You can support her cause as well. So, Christal, so next is about like life after quitting, life after the big decision. Okay. So now you already been like what 3 or 4 years out of the healthcare industry, right? You're out of medical field.
One
So
year and a half actually.
oh sorry, 1 year and a half, sorry, my bad.
Yep, very recent. No, it's fine.
Yeah. So, so now being out of the healthcare medical field, how do you evaluate the current state of the industry, especially post pandemic? Because, like, you know, right, what happened in COVID-19, right? I mean, the doctors are being stretched to the absolute maximum. I mean, their mental health is like totally affected, like badly, like so. Like I don't ask you like being a outside being an external observer because because you have been you have you have been working in it and now being out of it. How do you evaluate the current nature of the medical of the healthcare industry especially post pandemic? And if it's bad, can you suggest one way which you think we can improve the system better, especially for doctors?
Yeah. I think the pandemic in general, I see it as a global awakening. It's after the pandemic, I think a lot of people finally realize the current life that they are living is not something that resonates with them anymore. It's almost like a huge wake-up call for the world, right? You know, COVID-19. Even though at first it may seem like a terrible disaster, but I think I see it as a blessing in disguise. And after the pandemic, I feel like a lot of people are starting to reflect on their life trajectory. And I can see that is what is happening right now. Doctors are starting to realize that the current lifestyle that they are living as a doctor is not something that resonates with them. You know, before this, to be honest, nothing much has really changed in terms of the healthcare system. I've witnessed doctors are still working long hours, workload is still heavy, lifestyle is still strenuous, despite the many complaints or even protests
Yeah.
and opinions being voiced out about the need for change. Progress is still very slow.
Mhm.
And that's why that's why we are losing a lot of talents, you know, in the
Yeah,
country.
very true.
And Malaysia is facing a huge brain drain
Brain
crisis.
drain.
And
Yes.
yeah, even talking about this makes me very, very emotional, you know, because uh, all of us, doctors especially, like we wanted to work in this career out of good intention. We really want to help the people. And not only doctors are suffering, but the patients are also suffering because of our just terrible well-being among doctors. So, so yeah, that's the current state. Oh, so your next question was, or
Okay.
do you have anything to comment before that?
Well, no, I mean like, thank you for that sharing, but I do want to add on like, yeah, I mean from what you say is pretty bad. It's still pretty bad, and it doesn't change much from the pandemic. So, what? Let's say, okay. Let's say I give you the magic ball. Let's say if you are the Minister of Health, Crystal, if you're the Minister of Health, a health minister, what can you do? At least one way to improve the current healthcare system, like especially towards doctors. What is your one way that you suggest?
One way is, I mean, to suggest just one way is a bit tough. You know, I was thinking about this actually earlier. You know,
Okay,
one thing, or that's a bit
okay,
tough.
maybe more than one. I can give you the link.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then I was thinking, I feel like if we want to make changes, you know, a lot of solutions, we can divide it into two, right? We can divide it externally or internally. So externally is the system, the healthcare system, the governance, for example. So external system is, for example, the working hours, and then the facilities, the period of time taken for doctors to be absorbed into their postings, and then in terms of salary, contract or permanent posting. So these are all external factors. Other than that is also external factors is also leadership. So leadership can be again further divided into leadership in the hospital itself, maybe head of department or team leader. And then another kind of leadership is in terms of the government, the healthcare, the Ministry of Healthcare, right? So government as a whole in Malaysia. And because most of the time, when it comes to leaders in the hospital, I realized that most of the leaders in the hospital are elected based on seniority. So the more senior you are in the medical career ladder, the higher chance of you becoming a leader or being elected as head of department or director of the hospital, right? Even though you don't have the necessary leadership skills. Being a senior in the hospital, being a HOD, being a director, doesn't imply that you have good leadership skills. That's why it's called a skill. That's why leadership is called leadership skill. Skill is something that you acquire, that you have to learn, hone, you have to master. And I think that is one of the weaknesses in our system right now. This lack of leadership skill training. And I think that is one thing that we can consider as well, leadership skill training. So that's the external part, right? Now the internal part is mostly about purpose. The individual part. What is our individual purpose, as a person, as a doctor, as a human being? Even though we work as a doctor, it doesn't mean that it's the right career. Some people, they are meant to be doctors, but some people, even though they are a doctor, maybe they are meant for something else. And again, it comes back to self-awareness and self-knowledge. And that's where the internal part comes in. We need to understand who we are. We need to do a lot of deep introspection, self-reflection, and asking the tough, dark, and scary question about what are we meant to do on this earth, and what is our purpose, and where does it lie?
Very, very true. I mean, thank you for sharing that, Crystal. I mean, we have to do more for doctors, especially and also after all, doctors are also human beings, right? They are not robots. Who knows? Maybe in the next 50, 100 years, they will replace doctors with robots, with AI doctors. You never know. But until then, honestly, Crystal, if that do happen, I will honestly, if personally, I will prefer myself to be treated by a human doctor than a robot doctor, because you know why? When you treat someone, it's not just purely treating. You have to treat it with love, with care. So all of these things, these feelings, these human feelings, which only can be given by a human being, not a robot, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, Crystal. I mean, honestly, I do not want to be treated by a robot doctor. I prefer a human to treat me. Yeah.
Yeah. And also one thing I want to add is that I feel like the more technologically advanced we are, especially in medicine, the more sophisticated our facilities, our technologies. I feel like we get more disconnected from who we are and what our basic needs are, right? For example, all these robotic doctors, AI, all these play a huge role in the healthcare system, but it's missing the core ingredient, which is social connection and relationship and love and healing, true healing, deep inner spiritual healing. And I think that's where the future is. I know I'm going off a tangent, but I feel like this is
No, I don't.
where,
Yeah.
I feel this is where the future is going
Yeah.
right now. And I can envision this, the more sophisticated our technologies are, the more there is a need for us to come back to ourselves, to
Yeah.
come back to what is actually true. Yeah.
to come back to his voice is actually true. Very true.
Mm.
Very true, Christal. Very true. Okay, so Christal, like for those who are in the those who are in the traditional field, that means like those who are want to change jobs, what is the one piece of advice you can give to these people?
One piece of advice for those who are planning to transition is just start with what you know now. I think that's it. Because I think a lot of people, deep down inside, they know what they should do. They know what they want. Maybe currently they're in a career that they're not satisfied with, and then they want to quit, right? But because of the fear of future uncertainties and not really knowing when are they gonna when are they gonna get the next paycheck or how their life is gonna pan out, all of these questions, it holds them back from taking that first leap. And they think that they should know everything. And the fact is, you don't have to. Yeah. And even for a lot of us right now, as we go through life, we don't have all the answers. Even the richest person or the oldest person in the world, no matter how many years of experiences they've went through, there's always something new to learn. But what we can do is make use of the resources that we already have. So start with whatever you know now. It could be, what do you love to do? What are you passionate about? What are your talents? Who are the people that you know now in your circle that can help you propel your career forward, you know? And then take it one step at a time. Every day. Every day, no matter how many percentage of progress, even though if it's just 1% progress, progress is still progress. And it's going to accumulate, it's going to compound, but whatever it is, start with what you know. Yeah. And then add on from there.
Mm, thank you, Crystal. I mean, start from what you know because like it gives you like a little base to start. You know, like because if you start from the place that you don't know, like your starting ground is already shaky. It's shaky grounds. But if you start
Yeah.
from what you know, okay, there's a place for me to start. So from there, you work your way up. So yeah, very true, Crystal.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So Crystal, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? I know this question sounds very cliche. It you can see the question in the many job interview question, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? But I'm asking as a very friendly way, it's like I'm like excited to see what will Crystal be the next 10 years. Like will she be reading I mean will she be writing more books? Will she grow her presence more? So I'm just as a friendly way, I want to ask what is your plan for next 10 years? So yeah.
Yeah. When I finished writing the book and then finally publishing it, I I could feel like I've gotten the sense of closure that I needed. It almost felt like a release for me, like a spiritual and also healing release. And when I wrote the book, the intention was to help other people to discover their purpose. But after writing it, I realized that uh, I didn't know it back then when I was writing it, but I could feel like after I finished writing the book, it's almost like I've closed this chapter in my life. It's a closing of an old chapter, and now I'm embarking on a new one. So, like the old chapter is something that I've already gone through and that I truly cherish, and this book is the product of that. And so, moving forward, I'm excited to delve into other avenues, explore other things that I'm passionate and also very interested in. And that's why when you were talking about when we were talking about how I see the future of medicine, I see the future of medicine as uh, for me, the future of medicine is us healing ourselves rather than uh, rather than healing through drugs or through surgery. I mean, all of those, it has its place to play. But for me, how I see the future is as our technology get more sophisticated, as we become more advanced in our technology, equipment, and facilities, I feel like there is much more need and demand to come back to ourselves, as I mentioned. So that is where I see myself in that area. And I want to help people to tap into their own self-healing and self-wisdom that they already have. Also, another thing that I've discovered in the hospital when I was working as a doctor is that there is so much suffering, not only in the hospital, but also in the whole world. Not only suffering in terms of diseases or medical condition, but also suffering in terms of unhealed wounds or childhood traumas that a lot of people are facing. Things that they have not make amends with, or things that they have not forgiven. So much resentment and anger and frustration, and all of that led to a lot of suffering in the world, in society, and it's such an unfortunate thing. And so I really genuinely believe that a lot of the pain and suffering that the world is experiencing right now can be solved with just one thing, and that is love. And it's not only love as in the romantic cheesy sense, but it's the true genuine unconditional love for the self, for others, and also the whole world. And if we can help people discover that, to love themselves, to have compassion for themselves, that's where self-healing can exist. And when there is self-healing, when there is clarity of the mind, when we love ourselves and also one another, we can easily flourish. And that's when it's easier to find our self-purpose. Because I realized when I wrote the book, I mean, yes, it is important to find our purpose, our sense of purpose. But if we don't have a clear mind in the first place, if we don't heal our own self, or we don't heal our past traumas, then we are not in a good state to find that purpose, right? It's like watering a plant, for example. If you don't have the right soil or the right fertilizer, then the plant is not going to grow, no matter how much effort you try, to make it grow. Yeah, so it's about how do you create that foundation to grow.
Very true, Christal. Very true. Yeah, and then when you mention, I mean, love is the mother. I think one person say love is the mother of all values. Love is the one of the. I mean, people. I mean, we are all born out of love. We live in love. We live in, so love is all around us. Very true. Love is definitely all around us. And I remember a song from the Beatles, like, "All you need is love." There's nothing can be done, and there's nothing can do that can be done. Nothing that you can show that can be shown. Um, is a and they say all you need is love. Love is all you need. So it's just a very simple lyrics, but it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, love is all you need to make the world a more beautiful place to live in, and also to serve as many people as possible out of love. Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christal, so what is your, do you have a particular target group for this, for your book?
So when I wrote this book, the kind of readers that I have in mind is, first of all, is people who are struggling like me, like I once was. So these are young working professionals in their mid 20s, even late 20s or early 30s. So young working professionals. And then the second group of people is also students, especially fresh grads, university students or fresh graduates who are still unsure about what career they are meant to work in. So this book will also be very suitable for them. But other than that, this book is could also be read by students in high school or primary school, just to, because these kinds of knowledge, self-awareness and having self-knowledge, it's never taught in school. No one has ever taught me before about how do I find what is the right occupation. A lot of people tell me what is a good occupation, or what kind of occupation I should work in, but nobody tells me how do I find the right one in the first place, right? And so when we can teach children how to find the right career or how to find their purpose in the first place, even at a young age, then I think they're off to a great start.
Very true, Christopher. Very true. I mean, like when you mentioned that, inside I feel like a little anguish inside because I'm a teacher, Christian. I'm a teacher, so
Mm,
I do query to myself that why the syllabus of various subjects. I mean, we do learn languages, we do learn life skills, we do learn thinking skills, but why we do not learn the skills on making informed choices, especially choosing our ambition. I mean, choosing an ambition is not supposed to be on autopilot. We have to make an informed decision because this one decision will affect us for the rest of our lives. So we should, as I think, this is where the education system must have a revamp. To teach the student to make informed decisions, like getting the clarity information, getting all the pros and cons, and also the what will be the consequences if I choose the job A, job B, and uh, am I going to be okay with that? If we are okay with that, then you're considered to have made an informed decision because you have all the information and thus informed decision. So this is where I think it has to be shown from the school, from the school itself, like making informed decision. Students, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, our education, it's very confining for students, right? They're given a set of subjects to learn, study, and memorize, but there are no subjects at all about how do we cultivate what makes us unique. For example, in exams, if a student gets all A's but one B, all of us will focus on that one B, right? We don't focus on the A's. So our society is trying to strengthen our weaknesses rather than building on our strengths. But even in the book I mentioned, what if we see our strengths as our gifts and our so-called weaknesses as someone else's gifts, right? So why don't we focus on our gifts and then build up on that? Yeah.
Very true, very true. I mean, strengths are gifts, weakness as our, like, like superheroes, like even superheroes have their own weakness. For example, Superman with kryptonite, and then I can't think of anything else. I only know Superman with
Yeah.
kryptonite. I can't think of anything else. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
but yeah, because okay, if you go a bit deeper, why kryptonite becomes the makes Superman weak? Because it's from the planet of where Superman was born, Krypton, right?
Mm,
So I mean, like, come think of it, it's like if you choose to focus on a weakness but you don't work on it, you will always be affected by the weakness. But if you admit you have this so-called weakness, you accept it, you work on it, and then you come better.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, Crystal, I think I've covered all the questions. So I don't want to take too much of a time. So now come to the because we have been so serious. I've been looking at you, that we're looking very serious. So I mean, this is a casual talk. So let's induce some fun before we end the. So let's end the podcast in a very fun way. Yeah? So this is the part which called a quick fire round. That means it's only a one word answer. One word answer.
Okay.
Okay. So okay. The first question is okay. Which one do you think do you feel the best? Crystal the doctor, Crystal the speaker, Crystal the coach, or Crystal the writer?
Oh, I have to pick either one of that. Wow.
the, you feel the best. You feel you can truly relate to the best, resonate with. Yeah,
Okay, I would say if I had to choose, I would say Crystal, the writer.
Crystal the writer. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Number two. Coldplay or Westlife.
Oh, I'm sorry, Coldplay, but I have to go with Westlife because it's
Okay.
my
Okay. Fair
childhood
enough.
jam. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Okay. Now. Well, earlier you mentioned about you said you want to do creative arts, like want to do playwriting or drama, acting, all that. So okay, now I can't ask if you're going to write a book because you already have a book over here. So that question's out of the bag. Now let's say if you were to act, you become a actress. You want to act in a film or a drama or movie. What will be the title or movie and how the story will it be?
Wow. Ah, this is very tough.
Oh God,
What would
sorry.
it be?
I kind of put
What
you on the
would it
spot.
be?
Okay,
Um,
maybe let's start some people. What will be the title of the movie or drama or series?
um, hmm. Oh man. Oh man. I've always wanted to act.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I don't know, like in a dark but also inspiring kind of story. I don't know. Uh,
Dark, inspiring character. Interesting.
yeah, because I
Hmm.
know that I'm not a good comedian, so I can make jokes, but it's gonna be a really bad joke. So I don't think I can act in like comedy. But I've always like very slow burning movies, quiet and those kinds of suspenseful movies. So I think yeah, I would act in those kinds of movies, those kinds of roles.
Any idea of a title possibly?
Oh, title. Oh man, this is very tough. I never thought of it before.
Oh,
Uh, I don't know. Probably some Greek quote or something.
very good. Okay.
Yeah, some quote. Some philosopher's quote.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. Very tough. Very tough.
Okay, I mean, you can skip it if you find it too difficult. But yeah, so basically, you got an idea that you want to act a dark, inspiring character, and
Mm,
well, maybe not much comedy because you say that you're not a good making joke. But I think jokes. There are no good joke or bad jokes. I mean, if the purpose of a joke is if you make someone laugh, then it does a purpose, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. I think that's. I think that's enough because I don't want to make you think deep further because so
Yeah,
let's
the last
just
one is a very deep question. So
sorry the
I
last
mean,
one.
the last one was a very deep
Oh
question.
yeah, I'm
So
so
yeah.
sorry. I
No, no,
should
it's fine. It's fine.
I should give you a late warning, right? so Christal, before we end the podcast, um, how can the audience connect to you?
Okay, so I am available in most social media platforms. So you can connect with me on my YouTube channel, Christal Asong, my LinkedIn, also Christal Asong, Dr. Christal Asong, Facebook, Christal Asong, Instagram is also Christal Asong. And
It's like very easy to remember because everything has the same name. So yeah.
I know it's the same name. Even TikTok is Christal Asong, but I'm not very active in TikTok and I don't know why. And I don't know if I should. Should I, Yuva? Should I
I
be inactive
think
in
I
TikTok?
think you should go for it. The sky's the limit for you. Go for
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah.
I don't know, something is always pulling me back from being active in TikTok. But yeah, we'll see.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
I mean, if you have so much good comments from your YouTube, why not TikTok, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So, Crystal, any last words?
Oh, my last words is tap into your heart. I think a lot of us we intellectualize things too much. I mean, there is always a time and place, to use our intellect, to use our knowledge. But I feel like wisdom is a combination of both, intelligence in the head and also intelligence in the heart. There's this quote by Robert Edit Grant where he says, when the heart can think and the mind can feel, that's where the river of wisdom flows. So yeah, tap into your heart, build that intuitive muscle, and trust in the universe. When you're entering into the unknown, when you've taken the leap to pursue your purpose, there is a lot of uncertainties, and it takes a lot of courage and a huge amount of being able to trust what is going to unfold. And it takes divine timing for things to unfold and unravel. So yes, tap into your heart.
Wow, what a wonderful closure to the podcast. So, Christal, thank you so much for the time, and this, I think many people are going to benefit from this podcast. And yeah, audience, please go and buy this book. Is on many books. If you're in Malaysia, it's on many bookshops. It's on Popular. It's on MPH, and also it's also available online. So, Christal, if you want, yeah. So, which portal did you go if you buy online? Is it Kanin website?
Yes. So yeah, I think I will send the link over to you. But basically, this book is published by my book publisher, Kanyin.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you can visit their websites at kanyin.com. And is it kanyin.com or is it kanyinbooks.com? Wait, just let me check for a bit.
Okay.
Oh,
I
so
think
it's kanyinbooks.com.
Kanyinbooks.com. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, audience. Okay, audience. Don't worry. All of the links will be shared in the podcast description, in the video, and also audio. So you can just have a look there. So, Christal,
yeah.
thank you so much, and thank you so much for being in the podcast. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Yuva, for having me.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And it's a
Yeah.
pleasure to meet you again.
Okay. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.